Welcome to the Ozoza Lifestyle Crucial Conversations podcast. Today, we are honored to have Kenechukwu Ogbuagbu with us. Kenechukwu Ogbuagbu is the founder of NIBCard Games, and NIBCard Games is a tabletop publishing and design and manufacturing company. NIBCard Games started in 2013 and has since designed, manufactured, and promoted 29 made in Nigeria tabletop games, including manufacturing for clients, and has also introduced a tabletop games convention and opened the first tabletop games cafe in Nigeria. Welcome, Kenechukwu. It's a real pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Aziza. Thank you for the invite. Every opportunity to talk about the industry is it's a privilege, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're most welcome. So I'm really fascinated by what NIBCard Games does, and the games and the design, and I'm really quite intrigued, as I'm sure many of our listeners are. How would you define what NIBCard Games actually does?
I think thinking about it now, I'm certain what we do is to inspire people, to give people hope, to be able to create what they want to do, especially in the tabletop games industry. And that sums up everything that we do. So we are basically a designing, manufacturing, and promotional company. And what that means is we look out for concepts, ideas, and we offer services that once you come into our company, we can take your own ideas or your concepts and we turn it into a game that people can play. There will be a rule book and they enjoy the game even when you're not there to explain. And then we also take on to manufacture them here in Nigeria. And what that does is, like I said, it gives hope to people. So instead of looking at the places where you can get these services, because I know when I started in 2013, there was absolutely no place where I could, it was even weird to have that conversation with people that wanted to design a game. If I wanted to go to a cafe, there was no board game cafe, so it's normal cafes. If I wanted to go there, you see books, but you don't see games. And if I wanted to print my games, the people that are printing doesn't even know it's possible. They can print books, they can print banners, posters, but they can't print games. So, but what we've done over the years is to be able to learn a lot, mostly self-taught, and then we try to build on existing networks on the global community, and we'll try to link up and formed that what would I say, that company, that structure that now inspires other people to come and create their own games, or want to start their own game nights, or even want to start their own cafes and convention. And these are already evident in states across Nigeria. So I think in a nutshell, what we do is we give hope to people, especially in the tabletop games industry.
Yes. A quick question based on what you've just said. So is everything, are all the materials being manufactured in Nigeria? All the materials for your games?
No, unfortunately. It could, but because of the market, so especially things like the plastic, so the dies and the miniatures, those are small plastic tokens you used to play. We've met a couple of plastic companies in Nigeria. It can be done, but the quantity that they are requesting as a minimum order is something that we cannot afford now, and especially because the market is still young. So since we can get it on smaller quantities, we try to bring in those. And it still falls under what we do because we have those products called board game kits. We have about 5 different board game kits with different components inside. They're also clearly labeled on the box. And what these do is some people have never seen a 3-sided dice before, or 8-sided dice before, 12-sided dice, 20-sided dice, just the 6-sided dice that we play with Ludo. So what we do is we bring out all of these components that we've been privileged to get and took some miniatures that do not exist in the Nigerian market, and we couple it and package it so people can not just have access to them, but also begin to understand the, for instance, the measurements in the industry. So the blank board, the sizes of the cards, it's more like the self-education once they buy it. Oh, so this is the size of the card and all of that.
So they start to learn how to produce. Essentially, they start to see how the production can happen domestically. Yes.
I don't know, to be honest, but what we do is we share videos of how we make our game. So it's not something that we're trying to hide. So anyone can actually, who follows us closely, can learn what we do. On our YouTube channel, we have a full video on how to make a particular game that's funded by an organization. So if actually people follow us closely, they would be able to make the game themselves.
By the question, I actually meant people who can produce for NIBCard games, so that maybe at some point a lot of the items can be produced, the material in Nigeria, so people start to see, your value chain in a sense, so is sourced domestically long term. Yes. I'd like to actually understand what inspired you to start NIBCard Games, what the inspiration was behind it.
Okay, that one is funny. In 2013, there was ASU strike, and we were all bored. I was bored, and I have a friend that was even more bored. Like we tried lifting weights in the compound, and you need to see me then. I was so slim, and then he was slim, and he's a medical student, bookworm and all. We tried lifting, that it didn't work. We said, okay, let's try swimming. Let's go to a place where we could just swim. It did not work. And I think we even said, okay, at the time I used to volunteer with some organizations to go in school. So, okay, let's go and teach in school. I said, no, I'm not sure those students will understand what I'm teaching. So let's just, and then I think the last suggestion was, let's go to, there's usually this game house, PS2, could just play just outside the lodge. We went there. I know how to play. It didn't understand what was happening. It didn't like those kind of stuff. So I now said, okay, I would design a very boring game for you. I think that was the line. And I just got the drawing board, and then cardboard, pencil, eraser, stones and tokens. And then we just designed and look for Ludo dice. And we played, and it was very long. Ukuba, that's the name of the game. You play with, it's about the journey of an average young Nigerian. So just from growing up till the old age, but real life things that could happen, and then how it costs you or it brings you rewards. So we played that game. We played in the compound. At the time, I didn't even know it was something. I know. Shortly after, I think ASU called off the strike and school resumed. Medical students, once school starts, it's school.
Yes.
And I'm sure we didn't really bring out the game again till 2015. So you can imagine, after almost 2 years before we brought out that game again. But between those periods, I already started learning graphics from a friend who made me pay, and I'm so glad he did that. So that I would have taken it for granted. So for 1 hour, you pay me 1,000. That was 2013. So for 1 hour, you pay me 2,000 and 1,000. For 1 hour, you pay me 1,000. And within 8 hours, I got all I could, because I don't have, a student, where do you have 1,000 to be paying for 1 hour?
That's right, yes.
I got the basics thing I needed to know on CorelDRAW. I went on YouTube and finished the rest. So I think these were the basic things that inspired, that started NIBCard. But I think the inspiration was in 2015 when I met other young people. I started volunteering with this organization, and we were in Lagos working in a rural community in Ikorodu axis, and they were from UK and another team from Kenya and we from Nigeria. So I think it created that atmosphere where cross-cultural change, and people from UK is already one of the hotspots for tabletop games.
Yes.
And they brought their own games, just small card games and all. There and then I saw that it was more. I've been saying it that anyone can design their own game. Why do people stick to Monopoly, chess, Scrabble? But it didn't make sense, because I didn't, probably out of laziness, I didn't try to research further. It was just, it's gone. Let me focus on my life career.
Yes.
But when I saw these young people with those games and they were teaching, I said, no, 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 I have to bring out that. Where is that? Oh, I know I've done something like this. And I brought it out and they appreciated it. And we played it often. And they requested, can you do another one, an easier one? Remember, the first one was for, there was a reason for that. So
Yeah.
can you do an easy one, like about Nigeria? And EJ came out. We've not even published EJ yet.
Wow.
But EJ was what I designed based on request within the 3 months. And they requested for another one. And I did that again. And I thought it was easy.
Yeah.
But for them, it was hard. Though that was where I started realized, okay, this could be something. And I entered the internet and I saw that there is even someone alive that designed 650 games. I saw
Wow.
how big the industry is. I saw the US economy, what it means to the US economy, Australia, China. I saw that this is massive.
Yeah.
And so I think that was where the whole concept of, turning this into a company started.
Yes.
Um, and we are here now.
That's fascinating, isn't it? But so there was a passion and a necessity, and it came. I like the fact that it emerged organically. Did you have in mind at the time who your target market would be? Was that something that came up, or has come up now, or is that the whole concept of a target market? Is that something you explore?
To be honest, I feel I think games is for everyone. Game is for everyone. Anyone can play game. The old, the young, and it's actually one of the pillars of what we are building on. That regardless of any prejudice, stereotype, regardless of class, regardless of religion, you see a game comes out on the table and all of those things suddenly doesn't make sense anymore. It's
Yeah.
now about winning and team members.
Yes.
It's a cooperative game. So
Yes.
I think game is for everyone. But
Yes.
yes, we have targeted market for games that we have. So there are games that this is a party game. So and
Yes.
then there are games that this is for schools. So there are games this is to. We have an SDG game.
Yes.
We sell to NGO. So we have targeted market for each of the products. But in totality, I think game are for everyone.
Yes, I like what you said about how people disregard all these other superficial barriers that the human beings create themselves, and whether it's culture, race, or whatever, because that's so true of sport. When people are playing a football match or a cricket match or whatever, people forget all those things and focus on strategy and winning the game and
Yeah.
skilling up. So the games you're producing, they're an intellectual sport. They're an intellectual sport, which I think human beings naturally enjoy engaging in these kinds of things. It's somehow part of our DNA to engage in this kind of almost very inspiring, engaging, positive, kind of competition with your fellow human being. I feel that there's a natural inclination for the human beings to engage in this. Do you agree with that?
I totally agree. I think once it's now that engagement, and especially when there is reward for the first person to achieve something,
Yeah.
there is that emotion that comes in, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
The cafe has given us the opportunity to see so many things. And you see someone walking and person like, at first, the person will start with, if it's not chess, I'm not playing, or if it's not Scrabble, I'm not playing. Those ones they know, especially the influencers in the team, because a group could come in and that one person that says, let's go, everybody will say, let's go. And we just find ways over the time we've learned how to when someone comes in, we just look at you from your we just it's a sometimes lucky guess, but we have 3 to 5 games, one will appeal to this kind of person.
Yeah.
And once that happens, the person forgets Scrabble, forgets Monopoly, because the emotion is now there.
Yes.
Even if you don't like the game, but Nami go win them. I
Yes.
will win this thing. There's
Yes.
no
Yes.
way this
Yes.
person will win. And that's what
Interesting.
game does. And
So
if it means for you to partner with another person, or if it means for you to betray somebody, if it means for you to call bluffs, or you
yes.
have to win. And that's what
Yes.
game is.
And it's interesting what you've just said about how different games appeal to different personality types.
Yeah,
I
it
find
does.
that quite interesting, as even as an approach to I don't know, engaging certain personality types in different activities, or even trying to, from an educational perspective, even trying to sort of educate and raise consciousness of particular personality types, doing it via particular types of games that they will respond to as an educational tool, you know, but with a psychological kind of backdrop, as in, okay, this type of child, this type of profile will actually respond more positively to this type of game. So let's teach them this particular concept through this type of game. That's quite fascinating.
I agree with that because even in teaching, there are children that respond more to visual. There are children that respond auditory and then even kinesthetic. So it's more of tailoring people to games that they, because that is when you get the maximum, whether it's fun that you want to achieve or it's awareness that you want to achieve. And that's one of the things we are currently combating in Nigeria. So because we have limited games, about 8 or 9 of them. So the old classics of Scrabble, Draft, Ludo, Mancala. Now, because that was the only game, Snake and Ladder, those were the only games they were limited. So people could easily stereotype those games or the players. So you see any person that is playing Ludo most likely are what is the word? Lazy women are the ones playing Ludo, and then lazy men and drunkards are playing draft.
Okay.
And then smart kids are playing chess. And then aboros are playing Scrabble on the street. And then stouts are, wherever you see words, they are gambling. You know, and then Monopoly is for people that like finance. You know, all of those games we can easily stereotype them because they are one. But when you now know that there are over 1 million games, there is so much, and no one person can, no one game can be associated to one group of people. Someone can say, "Oh, I love to play Ludo," and it doesn't mean that I don't have any other thing to do. I'm just enjoying this as a and because of the so much what's the word? Limitation around chess being for smart kids. You now see that there are other kids that would have played chess and would have sort of helped them up. But because now there's a level to it, they are afraid. And you see the same kids is being able to understand a rule book of a game that is even harder than chess to play. Because there are games that there are games that you have to read the rule books well. One of our games is about 12 pages to the rule book, and there are games that the rule book are over 40 pages.
Wow.
And you see that the same person will be able to comprehend this game and all the strategies. But because we've so say that chess is for smart kids, they will never want to play chess again. So that's the thing about tailoring games to people. And we hope that with time, people will see that there are more options. That if I don't like this one, it doesn't mean that board games are. You would like Nollywood, or there are so many options. You can't say you don't like watching movies. Even people that say that they watch documentary or news, there's so many visuals to watch. That's the same thing with tabletop.
Yes. I mean, so if we look at some of the games, the wonderful games that you've designed, so if I choose a game like, say, Chiawa, which has been a real success and is very popular, how would you describe the objective of a game like Chiawa? And what's the general, what's the story behind it, and what's the objective of it as a game?
So for us generally, when I design a game, there is this overarching objective of adding a piece of Africa in it. I use Africa because it could just be anything. Could be I know Ukubwa is the first game I designed. Its name is a Swahili name. I just spent time in 2015. I just spent time in Kenya and I met people, and so but most times it's Nigerian stories. I tried that overarching objective could be make sure the name has a Nigerian name, so that way someone will be able to pronounce this particular name. Or it could be the whole game. The whole theme of the game is about a folklore in Nigeria or an African country. So it has but the what's the word? The value or the level at which differs according to game. So I'm giving this context because of Chihuahua. So Chihuahua is at the time it was designed. I think it was the fourth game we released, 2016 or so. Was I wanted to bring out people from old classic games.
Mm.
So and I was thinking, what is that thing that they already are close to, familiar to in a game? I was dice. People play Ludo, and then one brother that dice mechanics, and then we have to look out for a story that people can relate to. For me, from the southeast part of Nigeria,
Yes.
uh, first time I started staying in the north, I started seeing a lot of cows. When I was in the east, I used to be afraid of cows. If it's coming, all of us are running away. But
Yeah.
now I can be touching it.
Yeah.
These are shocks that happen in Nigeria. People take it for granted, but we don't. I think
Yeah.
creatives don't take those things for granted.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, what should I do at the time? So 2016, I just started living in the north, so it was cow, and that was how Chihuahua came in. I said, okay, dice rolling, feeding your own cattle, and then the concept of it being in a ranch, in a secure location, and then
Yeah.
it turned into a competition. Now, anyone that wants to play Chihuahua will know that Chihuahua is at Alsa. Now, where is Alsa? And you could just learn more. And then, but the game concept is just it's a dice rolling game where you race to feed your own cattle. So each
Right.
of the players are animal rearers. You have your cow, your horse. They're all ruminant animals. So and they are racing for the grass. And grass in Hausa means chiao.
Yes. Okay. So so basically it's a herding. People who have a career in being herdsmen. It's basically
Yes.
understanding that dynamic and also getting an insight into that part of the culture where this is a lot of people's livelihood and really understanding how that economy itself works, and then
Absolutely.
understanding a lot of the focal point of the maybe the original focal point of the Hausa herdsmen. That's quite fascinating because they're getting an insight into the Hausa culture, regardless of where they
Exactly.
are from.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And then knowing that there are limited resources in an enclosed space,
Yeah.
so you have to race for that.
Yes, and that's very topical actually these days. The fact that limited resources, limited avenues for movement, and so what
Yes.
can we also learn from a game like Village War? And
Wow.
what was the inspiration
Wow.
for Village War?
Village War is I could spend the whole day talking about Village War because it's huge. It's a clan on its own.
Yes.
It's a universe on its own. So the whole concept of Village War is it's a how like it's a spirit being playing game. It's a card drafting game. It's a resource management game, and the theme is built on the history, the folklore, the myths, and fantasies of the Igbo culture. So we mixed all of these things together. Every character we use, we have 55 characters on Village War. Each of them have Igbo names.
Right.
I'm not talking of English names that were translated to Igbo. Like mine is an English name that was
Oh,
translated to Igbo.
oh,
Yes.
really?
I'm
Okay.
not, it's not really an Igbo name. Kenechukwu simply means thank God.
Okay.
But
Yes.
yes, it's more like when we Christianity came to us and then we were given English name and it was translated exactly. So
Yes.
that's 55 Igbo names, and we have artifacts. Those are um, spiritual artifacts and their powers and all. And Village War is the story use real life stories of how Ewi descended on the Igbo, the first Igbo land, which is Nri, and it's in existence today,
Yes.
and how he made a deal with Chiuku and how he gave up his immortality so that he could become human and
Yes.
raise family, and then how he had to sign a faith, and that faith is that the day they divide, the day his children eventually separate, that day the calamity of the gods will come upon
Right.
them. And these are like hundreds of years ago. But with time, population started increasing, and then even other chief who were Aries' friend came, then even married some of Aries children, because this now gave a hierarchy of the system in Igbo. The royals, the spirituals, the animal summoners, the warriors. So there are
Yeah.
four classes. And then how greed came in and they separated, and that was where the war started. Because the
Right.
King Village War, the
Yeah.
calamity that brought the tears of the gods. And this is part one out of 5 games that are already done. So there is part two. Part two. So part one is where each villages are fighting for resources. Then
Right.
part two is where each village is now joining hand to fight off the foreign invaders.
Yes.
And then the part three is where one of the villages will betray the rest, because eventually the British conquered the Igbo people between 910 and
Yeah.
912, and then amalgamated Nigeria in 914. So that means we are conquered. So one person must have betrayed, and that was what our part three says. Then part four will be where that's the one I'm actually looking forward to, where there'll be 22 Igbo gods with their powers,
Yeah.
the sun god, the moon god, the fertility god,
Yeah.
all of them. And players now get, so the children of Eric got angry and now turned their verse in quote to Chioku. So, and then they started fighting. It was part four is the craziest. I can't wait for
Wow.
villagers to. And then part five is now the fate that that was agreed upon in the beginning. Now
Yeah.
that I will not say. I
Yes.
want
Yes.
people to be able to play it. That so the thing that happened where that was agreed on that the day your children separate, something will happen, and that is what
Yes.
part five does, and that's the reality of the Igbo tribe right now.
Right. This is my question just now. To how much is fact, how much is fiction? For the
Um, I
contents.
think I don't know how. No, someone has never really asked. Now I'm thinking about it. The years we used for the whole journey is the correct year,
Yeah.
and the reason is that so someone would like probably just punch that year on Google and type Igbo people, and you see something related to.
Right.
Um, so the names that we use are all the caste system we use are still the same.
Yeah.
The powers that we adapted are the powers that you could see. I
Yeah.
think the fantasy is the build up of the story, how we joined this truth and this truth and this truth, and we coined it into one. And
Yeah.
then maybe in the illustrations,
Yes.
the oversized body parts, weapons. I think that's where that happens.
So that is a really thorough history lesson for anybody who plays that game in Igbo culture and really the different aspects of the culture, which is fascinating, isn't it? And a lively way of learning about the culture as well, rather than a dry textbook way.
So before you start playing, you first read this 12-page
Right.
book that
Yes.
narrates everything for you.
Yes.
So you get in the vibe, and then this is the rule book. So
Right.
the rule book will just basically show you how to
How
play.
to play.
Then it comes with over 1 hour sound team sound.
Yes.
In case you want to play a war Igbo song, we went to the studio to record one.
Wow.
So you just get into the
Ah,
mood, and
yes.
it's crazy. I'm proud of it.
Wow. Do you have a favorite game or a
No,
couple of favorite games? Or are you not allowed to say that? Do you have to be fair to all your children?
I think I get excited in seasons with each games. It just comes. I could just go back and say, okay, this is the one I just want to.
Yes.
And I think the more there are games, the more it's hard to
Yes.
even yeah.
Yes. Yes. So one of the games I'm quite intrigued by is can you unwrap the concept of Battle of Adrika for us as well? That's another really popular one. So
Um,
what is the concept
of
behind that?
Africa. So we have an expansion, and the expansion is can also be played as a standalone. So it means you can get the expansion and you'll be able to play it. But the game started with a base that we designed in 2017, and the whole idea was I was just thinking. So I'm sure there were a lot of things that have triggered this thought. Reading about colonialism or all of those stuff, and I just I think, what if the meeting, no, it's popular. You can even see the image, the round table in Africa being divided. It's almost everywhere. Um, what if it was not peaceful? What if this round sitting men somehow did not agree on how to divide Africa and all the resources, and then they now left and they started sending their own troops to now capture lands and all. So that's the baseline of what the game is about. So it's called the Battle of Adrika, and players basically are troop commanders from representing their own country, flags, and they all have objectives. There are main objectives, there are also minor objectives. So main objective are like things you need to do, you must do it to earn higher points. And the minor objective are things that you can do. If you do them, you get extra, but you don't have to. And some of those things are some of the minor objectives are things I felt could have happened. Some will be like secure a region that has cocoa, or you must secure a region that has diamond to get 4 points, or you must secure a region that have crude to get 4 points, and
Yeah.
then all of those stuff. Or there's even a minor objective that says um, um, influence one nation against another.
Right.
And
Yeah.
once you're able to achieve it, you show everybody that this is actually what the objective says.
Yes.
There's just all of those crazy thoughts I'll just be thinking, or I'll just be putting them inside the game. But I think in a nutshell, it's about acquiring regions and gathering, and the regions also matters, based on the resources that are inside. So the
Yes.
person that is able to gather the most and eliminate as much other people's soldiers as possible wins the game.
Interesting. So people are also really getting a big picture, sort of bird's eye view of power
Yeah,
dynamics and the scramble for resources, you know?
exactly, absolutely.
Yes.
Now you see people getting angry, and I'm like, well, it's so funny when someone gets angry. I'm like, do you know that it's actually humans that live in those places you're firing your bomb and firing your gun anyhow? Because people don't think about. Wow, wow. Think now that I'm thinking about it, there should be something that, probably another expansion that shows people need to know that they are human beings
Yeah.
in those regions.
Yeah.
They are angry that they didn't get it, than someone else got it. So,
Yes.
hmm,
Yes.
that would enter. You just giving me another assignment.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so the humanization of the consequence, and the humanization of the people on the other end also needs to be sort of, dramatized or put into game form. How they have responded, how they have been affected by the actions of others. Because I think it's very easy in life to do things if you dehumanize or you collectivize or you don't think about the consequence deeply and you kind of separate yourself from others.
Hmm.
It's easy to just decide to do anything, you know. But if you're really maintaining a high level of consciousness and thinking, okay, if I do this, this is going to affect this person, and I wouldn't like it if that happened to me, so I'm not going to do that. And why wouldn't they be as upset as I am? I'm a person like them. We're all human beings, in the same condition. If you humanize things, then it's much harder to do things that are antisocial or unethical or immoral. Actually, it's much harder because you wouldn't do something to hurt yourself. You just say no. I can't do this. I'm stepping out. This is because if this happened to me, it's a disaster. So I think and I think human beings are only able to do certain things because they have dehumanized things that are unethical and immoral. I feel when they dehumanize it, when they separate themselves from the
Yeah,
people
yeah,
who are being negatively affected, because if you, in the same way that somebody would never do it to somebody they love, you know what I
yeah,
mean? But
yeah,
they'll say, oh, I don't know those people, they're different, then they dehumanize them. But if you say,
yeah.
actually, no, that person is just like this other person that I love, and they're just like me, and they hurt like me, why would I be involved in that?
You know,
Um,
it just probably, there's this movie I was I just, not actually a movie, an anime, and someone, a prince that I think he's the heir, and someone died for him, and he was mourning, and like, this person actually loved me so much, and all of those, and a priest was like, he didn't love you, because that was not love. And I think it boils down to what you just said now about, he said and that was what happened. The bodyguard that died just witnessed a village of 69 people murdered just to protect the prince, so that the prince can have a room to stay. So the prince says if it was real love, that guy would not sit and watch 69 people murdered just because of him. And that the love was just because it's you. If
The
you were
status.
not you, he
Yeah.
would not have loved you. And he gave the guy, I think that was the breaking point for the guy to mature as a human. I mean,
Yeah.
I digress, but I
Interesting.
think portrays what you're trying to say. And bringing it in games, in this particular game, Battle Royale is something I understand that you have to win this particular region so that you win the game. But as you're doing that, you should know that this is the real damage of what you actually did. So if you have the mind to still want to win the game, now this is the death toll of what happened.
Yes,
I
exactly.
hope people don't cry after playing.
Yes. Well, we're going to take them on a ride through all these different emotions, aren't we? It's going to be very dramatic, you know. I mean, this brings me on to the other thoughts I'm having whilst you're talking is that, you know, what is your hope that the player will get, you know, from these games? What is your hope? You know, every time somebody plays your games, what are you hoping that they learn, that they receive?
I think first is to enjoy it. They
Yes.
have to enjoy it first. I love it that people enjoy the game. Um, I think maybe that's one of my fuel. Uh, but once they enjoy it, every other thing comes. If those are games that were designed for specific purpose, you usually have feedbacks for that, and they also have facilitators, so people that will teach the game and they have whatever they want to achieve. Uh, but when people come into the cafe, I feel like let them just play the game. Once they play it, every other thing just happens. It happens. It's just like say, just eat the food. Don't worry, your body now knows what to take. I start seeing people. It depends. There are so many other things that could just happen. Maybe soft skills that they start getting without even knowing it. There's, there are some that they don't talk to people, but now they are now arguing or bluffing. Also, it depends. But once someone enjoys the game, and I think that's what both advert and learning. I think those are things that they always look out for. That point where emotions comes out, uh, uh, eh, just like you said, engaging. That engagement and that emotion, there is that thing that it does that you're just open. Anything you learn, anything you take in, you always remember. Just a good example is when I think Steve Jobs. I think the first time he launched the iPod, he came out and the iPod was 8 gig then, and 8 gig was, I mean, 8 gig, and then instead of saying 8 gig, 8 gig was still huge then. You know, we had music that was just 200 kilobytes. I remember in school we doing infrared TV. So, but instead of saying 8 gig, he said this thing that you are seeing here has the capacity to contain music that would enable you to travel to the moon and come back. Now, it's now emotion is inside there now. Like, geez, can somebody even travel to the moon? That's just the whole, you're no longer thinking about 8 gig. Just that small thing, I can go to the moon. And you start thinking, oh, and there are people planning to go to the moon. So it's
Yeah.
about a lot of learning happening inside you without even knowing. And I think that's one of the things play learning, which tabletop game is part of.
Yes.
Once someone enjoys the game, every other thing follows immediately without knowing anything.
Yes, I mean, a lot of psychologists say that, you know, learning and change happens when you have the intellectual and the emotional coming together. You know, whether somebody is in a happy state when they're doing something and they're going to learn it and enjoy it, whether somebody's imagination has gone off, like you've said, to the moon, and like, wow, I can really, you know, there's once that kind of transportation in some way happens, or there's an emotional, you know, I'm having fun, I'm feeling competitive, I'm happy, or I'm being frustrated. That emotional and intellectual synergy is the soil required for these, you know, these gems to be planted, the skill base to be incorporated in somebody. So that's so. I mean, this is also leading on to what I was going to ask next. You've covered it to an extent. So why would you? I mean, one of the questions I was going to ask is the extent to which you think it's a good tool for promoting learning, and the extent to which you're trying to maybe actively bring it into school curriculums and educational institutions.
Like I said, what we have more focused on as a company is to be able to design, to manufacture and promote games. Um, and this is because I recognize that the value chain is massive, and I try as much as possible to do the bit to just touch some of the value chain so that people can see that it's doable. But I still try to focus growth on these three. And why am I saying this? Is that yeah, I recognize that team up with government, team up with schools, putting these games in this because I know the value and Montessori schools schools that emulate like UK or US education system. Here in Abuja, for that, like they're using it. They're using a lot of games, a lot of board games. But our own schools, so many things. There are so many reasons why it could happen or it could not happen. And those things are a little beyond my focus right now. So I more like tell people that there are so many games and these games can do this, that, or this, depending on what you want. And if these are not the things you want, okay, we can also help you bring out the ones you need.
Yeah.
And we make them here. So you don't have to think of we need when we try to finally bring them here. And so that's the promotion bit of us. Screening is that we make games, we make them here. And these are the things. So it's now left for people to now begin to think of applications. Do I want this set up in my lounge, in the airport, in the hospital waiting room, in schools? The application is in churches as from the school. Instead of forcing those children to be cramming Bibles, why not turn it into a game? And they are playing and they're learning those things. There are so many applications
Yes.
that games can.
And what suggestions do you have in terms of so promoting more critical thinking, creativity, and innovation in particularly in West Africa?
Okay. Actually, this was one question that I had to think when I read it. It's so for me, from my perspective, I think it's very broad. I started thinking that we have to go back to uh, basic education, where we begin to change from I like I told you during our quick conversation. I left the university. I dropped out from school. I don't say it in the way that people say it. You get dropped out from school. Must go drop out from school. Not that way because obviously those guys had so much education than even the people that went to school and they had admission in the best schools. But I think for me was my self-esteem was going down drastically. The environment was killing me. It wasn't and I tried to look for professional help from my pastor. Over a year, we did timetable, it didn't work. And I was spending my money doing other stuff. And those things paid, uh, those things I think I used my money to do then are the things that have taken me to countries. And as in I think, thank God I did those things anyway. But when it's about education, it's why were we even going to school in the first place? Education was set up in a certain age, and there was a reason for that because those industries needed workers. It was straightforward, and those industries funded the unis or the education institute. We recite. It was straightforward. And we try to bring the same thing in a region that we do not even understand what we're doing. West Africa, Nigeria, particularly. It's about from the basics. Instead of trying to make a child cram stuff so that they take first position, then remove position so that if this child, I do not understand why people are taking first position in primary school. Who first position help? Even in secondary school, who first position help? But it's more, instead of putting those pressure, now start finding to the first century way of learning, creativity, or sitting arrangement in the classrooms. I've seen a lot of yeah, I've seen the one of females this way, males this way. Then the one of which is the one that is mostly used. The teacher is the almighty person standing in front, and we are all, so the ones in front are better than the people behind. So I think from that basis, once we start, then hopefully people growing up will now start trusting the education system.
Yeah.
Because that trust is, that's why we go to start from, you can't get trust from people our age now in terms of education system. But people, those kids in primary school that probably go out and trust the education system, the ones they trust that system, they want to go into that system. They want to invest into that system. They want to be proud of that system. We people are not proud of people. BSc is not even a thing again anymore. It's now when they get masters in UK. That's what people now say I have masters in. Nobody wants to say I have masters in UI. So these are that because there is no investment. Teachers are not even want to. They don't even trust the whole sector. There's so many things. And then enabling environment. I told you this was something I have to think. These three things, enabling environment, I think that's more from the government side, the duty there to the school administration, which is still government. The government needs to the total overhaul of our school. It's a huge and long kind of process.
Yeah.
But I think it has to start. Whether it has started, we still do not know because there are no lenses for us to measure any credible thing. People still use textbooks that they today we are right now. I have friends that they say, hey, please do not refer to me as he, refer to me as she. And I respect that and I do that. But people in school are still being taught that a male should be he. And people right now are saying no, it's no longer that, and they are being respected because every document you're seeing on the international level is respecting it, and you're still teaching it to children. Who do you want them to like? And then you're still teaching children that okay, you're preaching inclusion, yeah, you're preaching inclusion, even intertribal marriage, interreligious marriage, but you're still using the same textbook that says um, Simbi father is Mr. Salami and Simbi's mother is Mrs. Salami. You're still building inside their head that a family has is the same father and the same son uh, uh, looks alike. A mother and the daughter looks alike because they are the same tradition, the same tribe, the same language. And you're seeing what is resulting is not positive.
Yeah.
But you're still teaching it to the children growing up. So it's, I
Yeah.
don't know how where to start, but the concept of the 21st century, the forces and the innovation, it can. Organizations have started using informal learning centers to equip that. But I mean, these students spend a lot of time in classroom, and this classroom, unless the ones that would are able to afford a decent school, private school, but the majority in government school, to be able to do that, we start from small, put out policies that will create an enabling environment in schools, empower teachers or other people to invest in that sector, and then create trust. Create trust. Whoa. I hated maths in school just because my maths teacher was wicked and he was parading himself as being wicked and everyone was shouting wicked and he loved it. And then I came out from the school to find out that it's normal in all the other schools that maths teachers are supposed to be wicked. Now, how do you now want us to compete on STEM? We cannot because mathematics, we hate it. The ones that are doing well right now, if you check the young guys creating tech apps and all, I'm sure that they did not like math in school. It's when they now saw that it's not math, it's coding, it's different and it's sweet, and they started coding, and most of them will all learn or online. But from primary school already, we hated math, and then if you like math, you're like a champion. It's not a normal thing. If it's normalized, you have more children. If they are children, they don't know better. It's what excites them. It's now the duty of whoever caregiver that is there to get them excited and then find out, just like we talked about, find out the best way for them to learn, and they will learn. So it's like I said before, I keep saying it's a long process. It could even it could take decades. It should take more than two governments anyway. But for that to happen,
I mean, I'm thinking that it's a lot of it has to do with really training at various levels. So really training the teachers to understand the impact the teaching style sets, I mean, creating the enabling environments, what the resources, how it all has an impact on what the child learns. And even making everybody feel like stakeholders, making the children feel like stakeholders and taking responsibility for their learning, making the teachers have a sense of pride and that, look, I really want this child to come out of my class and to have really absorbed the teaching so they can go out in society and use it. You know, I think that there's a lot of training involved. I think because if anybody knows what a diamond education can be when it's done properly, they would do it because it's just as rewarding for the giver as it is for the receiver. You know, just as you're saying, when you're excited seeing people you're designing these games, you're happy and excited seeing people enjoying them. The people who are engaging in the games are excited. It's a two-way thing, and I don't think I think everybody benefits from that emotion and that sense of fulfillment. So I really think that a lot of training, deep, thorough, comprehensive training at the level of the kids, the level of the teachers, the level of school administration and setup, and also the level of the parents to support their kids. You can't have one message in school, another message at home. You know, it has to be a consistent, holistic approach in order to move us. Because like you were saying, the reality is the educational system now was developed, you know, to cater for the Industrial Revolution. You know, the Industrial Revolution had, you know, it had requirements, it had needs, it needed certain skills. So people were put into formal schools in order to cater for that. So now that period we've evolved from that period. You know, now we're in the technological era. We have different needs, and different countries have different needs. So it's about what does this country need in order to move forward and progress and to thrive, and how can we ensure that the educational system and the skill set of these citizens is able to match that and even, promote that and develop that and run with that. So it's a two-pronged approach. It's from one end, this is what the society needs in order for the infrastructure to go where it needs to go, whether it's renewable energy, whether it's infrastructure, and what education do these kids need to have in order to make that happen. And so it really has to be thought of like that, because education is not just okay, I went to school, I can read, I can write. It's not something that is in a vacuum. It has a purpose. Everything you do, it has to serve a purpose. Otherwise, just like some of us think, some of those history lessons I did in school, I don't even remember. We don't want this waste of time. We don't want years where you think, I don't even remember, I just crammed and I just did the exam. We don't want that. We want things that you can learn and you use and you add value. Add value to yourself, add value to society, you're contributing, you grow, so that education is very enjoyable. It's something that people are running to, like, oh, wow, I was so excited and there's so many other things to learn. It should be a lifelong journey of discovery. I really believe that, and it can be, but it depends on the experience that one has and the way it's promoted and the way it's designed.
Exactly. Like each day, I keep learning, but now I know that whatever I'm learning, I'm eager to apply it. I want to just apply it immediately and see, and just let me know if I can use it again or just dump and learn something else. And that's how learning should be. That's what it should. That is what it is, but that is not what it's. We don't obtain it here. I agree. The one of training, capacity building. There is this concept that is used in Nigeria, this SBMC. So each schools have SBMC. I think it's more like an evolution of PTA. PTA is just Parent Teachers Association, but SBMC is made up of, it's actually, some states in Nigeria have signed into the education policy, or it's the school management board committee. It's made up of the principal, the PTA rep, could be the secretary and the president, made up of the head boy and head girl, made up of one teacher, made up of the youth leader in the community, made up of, I think, spiritual heads, depending on how rural community. Nigeria, it's a very spiritual country. So these are all the decision makers, so that all of them are all, say, representing, even the women leaders, all of them are representing, because and that is how school is supposed to be. It's a community thing. So you all know the teachers teaching your children. So that if your children, you know who to hold. You know the principals, and then teachers know the parents of this child.
Yes.
Or it's also it's if it's that way, that accountability, at least there are a lot of achievements that will happen before we start tackling the government on a higher scale. So
Yes.
yeah, I quite agree that that capacity building on that level
Yes.
is needed.
Yeah, and things can start. People don't have to wait for authorities to get involved. I think things can start at a more local level, and I find at a local level actually things can happen quite fast. I wanted to ask you as we're rounding up, so how important is it for people to learn about African history, culture, and heritage, and why? Because obviously one of the underlying common denominators of your games is that it's all within an African setting,
Yes.
an African geographical setting. So how important is it for you for people to learn about the history, the cultural heritage, and why?
I think if there's a scale of 1 to 10, I think I will go for 1,000,
Mm.
1,000,000, 1 billion, 1 trillion. I don't know, but I think it's very, very important. It's very important, and the reason is I actually summed it up in three. One is identity. I think identity is a good thing. Yeah. I think it's good to be identified with something or with a group of people because it's in its own way. It gives you that that self. I'm not saying that as a lone person you can't get that, but when you belong to a community and you can identify this community, maybe in the type of food you're eager to talk about this food. I said this is my people's food. Though I remember growing up and that those nostalgic feeling. Or this is my clothes and I'm proud of these clothes because it represents me. And in a place where you see people that you have something in common,
Yes,
you feel relaxed. You're really trusting them easily. So I
yes,
think identity is good, and that's what learning our this thing does. Another is it's good to know your past
yes,
because once you know your past, it's also almost a cliche now that if you know your past, you now know the mistakes of your past, so you don't repeat them. But that thing is very true. It's very, very true. If you know your past, it's not about avoiding mistakes, but even building forward.
yeah,
So you are aware of someone have done this, and there's that thing. How do I say it? It might not make sense, but it makes sense to me when someone says calls me my father's name
mm,
or my grandfather's name, Ogbuagbu.
yeah,
There's this thing I feel when I might not show it because you have to hide it, be humble about it. But there's that thing I know that my grandfather killed a leopard alone. That
mm,
means I can kill a leopard alone.
yes,
But,
yes, 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 because you
but
come from that lineage.
yeah, exactly.
Yes,
There's that thing when you know that your past it has done this, it can now do more. I
yeah,
can build on, and even the Igbo apprenticeship, where you make money, you serve a master for 7 years, and they settle you, and even settle you, give you customers, give
mm,
you sellers, and then you're expected to do the same.
mm,
So that way, people are building, and then you're avoiding mistakes that the other person have made before. So past is good, and then respect. I think I think if you know yourself, you begin to have more empathy towards other people. If I'm proud of this is probably relative, but if I'm proud of being Igbo, and I'm so proud of being an Igbo man. I used to wear my Igbo hats. I've been walking around. They had to stop me for security reasons. Uh,
mm,
if because I love it. Uh, you will not see me trying to mock someone using speaking English with another accent. Because me, I'm an Igbo man that I love to use my own accent. And when you talk, I was like, look at you. Is English my first language? Go and call an English person so that they speak Igbo with English accent. Now, let me, if you see now, I will speak UK accent for you. So
yeah,
because I'm proud of mine, I can respect another person's culture or
yeah,
other person's belief. So
yeah,
I think that those are things why I feel it's, and that is the things that we maybe not as as direct as I just said, but we want each of our games to be able to represent a part of this, and it has even inspired other people. And when people say, "Oh, you did one about Igbo people," I say, "Tell me your own story now, or Kuma, do your own with your own stories." Like
yes,
in the comics now, you could see about Queen Amina. You
yes,
could just see. So it's. more people are coming in the gaming industry, trying to represent their own stories as well. So it's another way we try to inspire that.
Yes. No, I hear you. I'm curious because I want to distill one of the driving forces. So I'm just going to zoom in on this a little bit. What do you think made you, what was it in your upbringing, in your makeup that made you proud of your culture and heritage? What was it? Something your parents did, how you were brought up, what was happening in your house? What was it? Because that's quite important, because I do think it's being lost in a lot of homes, and as a result we're seeing people feeling a bit rootless. So it'd be nice to actually identify what it is about your context that made you appreciate your culture.
I think the fact that I'm Igbo helped me really. No one has asked me this question, but now I'm thinking about the fact that I'm Igbo really helped me, uh, um, especially when I made the decision to drop out. I'm a Christian, so that's it. I believe whatever I'm doing, I try to connect to God as much as possible. But being Igbo gave me this self assurance. Like I already saw my dad. My dad did not finish school. My mom did not finish school, and they were very, very, very good at what they do. Very successful in what they did. Before he died, and he died so young, but he was able to achieve so much, so much. And I looked around. If you come to my village, you will see big, big houses that people don't live in. They only come back during Christmas. So, and you now hear that all these people, none of them went to school. It's sheer hard work, like hustle. And then there's this cliche in Nigeria that Igbo man likes money and the Igbo man and business. Don't play with Igbo man and business. No, I think when you're little, you keep hearing all of this. This is the same thing that goes around. Like, and there's this part. I not that I don't want to bring this up, but it's fact. It happened. The Civil War.
Yes.
It happened. The Biafra War happened, and
Yeah.
uh, the southeastern people lost. Igbo people majority lost, and a lot of all Igbo people assets were seized, and they were given £2.
Yeah.
Each person was given £2 regardless of what you had, and this was what they used to rebuild. And it's same mentality. You could just Google it. Igbo people £2, Biafra war, civil war. You can see the and it's normal conversation that these people build up with £2.
Wow.
When as a child you keep hearing these
Wow.
these
Yes.
statements about your people, how proud you should, that is in
Yeah.
fact giving you guys the next mantle, but it's not in a condescending way that if you failed
Yeah.
woefully. No, it's like if you fail, you're moving. Don't
Yes.
and there are proverbs and names
Mm.
that actually confirm all of this. So they are normal cliche in Igbo language. So yeah, I think that
Yes.
and 1 million other things
So you had
probably.
it sounds like you, I mean, obviously you had amazing role models just all around you, from the nuclear role models to the community role models. And it sounds like there was also a lot of direct engagement.
Yeah.
Because I think there was something you were saying about the educational system being, involving all aspects of the community, the chief, the head girl, head boy, parents. And when you were talking, I must honestly say, I was thinking, do people have that time these days? They should, because it's really important and it's ideal, and it is the priority. The children and their education is the future, so you can't joke around with it. So people have to work really hard at work, and they have to make ends meet, but they have to also find a way of giving children the time they need for their nurturing. But it's so obvious that it was that nurturing that is what made you who
I
you
think
are.
in this regard, more of
Yes, please go on.
sorry, you're breaking.
Okay, can
I
you
didn't
can you hear me now?
Okay, so I meant sorry, I stopped. I thought you stopped talking. So I said in that regard, I feel it's right now the people that are doing that work are more like the nuclear family, and now there are more wars because of insecurity. Um, so you see, a parent, maybe the dad or the mom, they'll focus on their child, but they will not want the child to leave the compound. And rightfully so, because right now there's a lot of insecurity and nobody trusts anybody anymore. But I think that time where we are growing up, we are opportune to, I can go to the neighbor's house and eat. I eat food and I'll be hearing their gist. or you go, no, children there were always in clan, their
Mhm.
clan, because the clan means we go for scavenging at the same time, and we look for parts to build stuff. We played so much games,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
many games. The rubber ring,
Mhm.
rubber ring was more like a forex on its own. Like it's
Yes.
a big market. You can sell in different streets. We
Mm.
played ball as our clan.
Mm.
We fought. No, I think, bro, kids, we did all of those stuff.
Yes.
I remember we'll be in the street once. My mom's car. If you see where my mom car will be in the beginning of the street, I will hear P,
Yes.
see run.
Yes.
If it's our ball, attack ball, all of us, there's a way we can put our head through our gate. Then, but everybody, till my head up, will jump. And we will pretend that we did not go out that day because they said, no. I think
I,
with
I
time,
remember I remember those days. Yes. Yes.
so we started
Yes.
going out of it. But
Yes.
I think all of
Yes.
these things
Yeah,
helped
absolutely.
form that. Yeah, it wasn't just go to school and then come back to the
Yeah.
house and then go to school.
No.
It was mad.
Yes, because play for me, play is learning. Kids have to. After school we were playing the whole day. We were out. You come back home at sunset. And you learn. You fall. You fall off the tree. You have a
Yes.
bike without brakes. You get into scrapes. You have even a car accident. You don't want to tell your parents about it. There's so many things that happen that toughen you up, and you learn. So
Yeah.
it's a mini world. The play of the child is the mini world. Is where they're learning in a safe space with their peers to engage and to test boundaries. And and even the physical aspect and dealing with bullies and defending people. It's very, very, it's a very big part. And I think we have to make sure that's brought back.
Yeah.
So
And
not
I don't know why, because when we were kids, it's very hard to differentiate the men and the women because a girl will beat you and we all laugh.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I don't know how all of those things just changed. It was like, I, now that I'm actually thinking of it, there's a game, One Touch. It came out from games we played when we were kids. There's Sway, we've turned Sway into a game. Which other one? I think there's one we're actually working on right now. So probably we keep thinking of those games that at least the kids now have the opportunities. So
yeah,
many iPad and PS5 going on and social media
yeah,
that people now forget those because they are part of our culture.
yes,
Folklore, running around
yes,
in groups. I keep
yeah,
using but in groups. You don't have your groups. You be lonely. For
yes,
so many reasons. So, but
yeah.
we don't do that anymore. Collaboration, uh,
Collaboration, negotiation, compromise.
negotiation. Yeah.
Yes.
But,
Accepting
but
defeats, accepting failure, accepting shame,
yeah,
all these things that happen in the group,
yeah,
you
standing up
know.
for yourself. You
Yes,
get bullied over again. That
yes,
one day you now stand up for yourself.
yes, yes. Yeah, no, these are things that I think mustn't be lost. That the importance of it mustn't be like, oh no, it's just important to have formal education. I think, for me, that is what makes people's personalities. And I feel the more children are out engaging and playing and getting roughed up and with their group, the more social they become, the more open they become, the more they're able, when they kind of grow up, they're able to go out there and approach people and suggest things. And I feel it affects your actually, how even outgoing you are.
Yeah,
You know,
it does.
it's very deep, and I feel that people have to really watch not losing that. I think some households obviously still have that, but a lot of kids are spending a lot of time indoors and not doing enough of the physical and just being in the world and finding things and finding little animals or insects and all the things that are just very exciting.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, yes, we did a lot of. Now, now I recognize it's animal. What is the word?
Animal abuse. Yes,
Equate. But you know how many frogs? Oh, poor frogs.
yes,
Lizards, grasshoppers. We
yes,
operated in.
yes,
We wanted to be NEPA. We wanted to have what is it, medical skills at four,
yes,
5, 6, 7 years. We
yes,
would we even go hunting.
yeah.
Went hunting. We learned. we went to take so there is this method of you steal people's pigeon,
Yeah,
you set it up and you steal it, you cut the feathers and you feed them sugar and feed and rice.
yeah,
Before they grow back their feathers, they will now be yours, and
yeah,
then they will go and come back. And someone else will steal them,
yeah,
and it was the market. And one day you see your own in someone's plan. You say you guys will fight it, so and whoever has the most claim will collect the bread and be going home. It
yes.
was just
Wow. Interesting.
so
That's fascinating. Wow, this has
fascinating.
been amazing. So I think the question that a lot of viewers will be asking is how to get access to your games.
Oh yes, yes. Anyone can get access to our games directly on our website, www.nibcardgames.com,
Okay.
nibcardgames.com, or you could just search any social media, not any social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You just search for NIBCard Games or just NIBCard, or you could just Google us NIBCard Games and get more information on any of our games.
Thank you so much. That's amazing. Well, people will definitely be following up with that, and I will certainly be getting someone ordering. And they deliver. You deliver. You're based in Abuja, and they're delivered. Uh,
So yeah, we deliver worldwide. On our website, it actually has this mechanism that calculates your location. So once you
okay,
type in your location, it calculates.
fantastic. And what's next for you before we round up? What's next on your agenda? Still designing more games, more games on the agenda?
Yeah, more games, better production, value for money rate, inspiring more people to come into the industry. Basically, the things we've been doing. Only each time we keep asking why not, and
Yeah.
we keep moving forward. We want everything to be better, but basically the same thing of making them better.
Fantastic. Kenechukwu, it's been more than a pleasure to speak with you. I've thoroughly
Yeah.
enjoyed our chat, and we'll definitely be we'll be circulating the podcast, and I'm sure a lot of viewers will really enjoy and learn a lot and be playing your games. So thank you very much for designing these wonderfully inspiring games and really sharing your wonderful skills with us for us to enjoy these very inspiring games. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Aziza. It's my pleasure. And thanks again for inviting me. I actually enjoyed the conversation.
Most
I knew I
welcome.
would.
Yeah, I'm happy you did. I'm
Thank
glad
you.
it wasn't. I'm glad it wasn't boring.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Thank
Fan-
you so
fan- Fantastic. No, I enjoyed it very much. So thank you so much, and we'll be in touch. Thank you very much.
much. We will definitely.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.